anticipated conversation to be had in the world. Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They're going to be kicking it back on Spaces later on tonight. And they're going to be having a conversation. They're going to talk about immigration. They're all going to talk about the state of the world. But they're also supposedly going to be talking about crypto. Now, it's been a little bit choppy in crypto, to say the least. And in tonight's live stream, we're going to break down a few things that could be impacting cryptocurrency, because you've got to think of it like this. You've got this pending attack that's happening with regards to Israel and Iran. And on top of that, you've got Ukraine, which has actually managed to invade Russia. 133,000 people have been evacuated from Russia because of this invasion. Yet you've got two of the most important people in the world having a conversation on X. Is it diversion? Well, listen, we've got a big week coming up, and in the next 48 hours, we're going to know exactly where we stand with regards to inflation in the United States. And the word on the street is that Bitcoin's going to be smacking that 52K. That's what they're saying. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this live stream, break it all down, give you what you need. And then, I don't know, you guys are going to be listening into that conversation. One of the world's richest men. And Donald Trump, I mean, Harris ain't really been speaking to anyone. I mean, you can't get any more credible than that. Speaking to Elon. I mean, I don't know. But who cares? Let's get into the charts. Mad love and respect for passing through. My voice is kind of going, so let's just get with this flavor and have this conversation. We need to have a conversation. Forget Elon Musk. But anyway, that's another story. So let's get with the program. Yes, Bitcoin. Tricky, tricky day to say the least. But first, Donald Trump and Elon Musk could discuss MAGA, Tesla, crypto, and immigration. So let's make America great again. And Tesla and crypto, immigration. It's going to get everyone's attention. Investors in Tesla, they're going to want to listen in because Trump could suggest something to Elon and then Elon will be like, maybe. So it might be wise to pay attention to Tesla's price action in the out of hours markets, depending if they like what they want to hear or whatever they hear. Okay. Cryptocurrency. This is what they're thinking they're going to be talking about. It's not indefinite, but this is the topics that they could be suggesting in this meeting tonight. All right. So it'd probably be wise to pay attention to what's going on in your portfolios because we could get a little bit of volatility with cryptocurrency. Speaking of volatility, I had a crazy day trading cryptocurrency. All right. So here was my day. I managed to make $3,038 on this move. And the move itself, here it is right here. It's a nice little 711% gain. 60,221 was the entry for the short. Okay, currently in a short on Bitcoin because I'm riding the idea of Bitcoin making its way towards this vector candle region right here to try and sweep this Asian session low. Okay, now the conversation with Elon and Trump is going to be happening around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. Okay, so technically in around 2 hours and 45 minutes. So there could be some opportunity for Bitcoin to try and make a little bit of a move to the downside, given that we have had such a choppy day. Now check this out. Chance of Bitcoin price to drop to 52K rises as derivatives show traders are losing hope. Well, on top of that, you've got this, more extreme fear than the FTX crash. Okay, so what's leading this? Why 52K dropped to the downside? Well, it's pretty simple. And it's probably a comment that we never thought that we would see. Check this out. The economic downturn is the biggest risk for a Bitcoin price crash. Some of you Bitcoin extremists will be like, never. It's the best time to buy Bitcoin because when fiat is going to the pan, the only alternative is cryptocurrency. But you would only expect people in crypto to be buying crypto when it hits the fan. But we've got to really approach things in a logistical way. If the market is going down and Bitcoin is the only asset going up, then we need to see people lose faith in fiat. But the problem with fiat is everyone's tied into it. Now, today was a little bit of an example of why maybe investors are getting a little bit concerned. And even though Bitcoin is technically a commodity, why is it? that oil and gold today made significant gains. Check this out. Look at oil making gold, sorry. It's made a significant move to the upside. Now, for the platinum membership, we projected this move on oil today, okay? And we were talking about it in our market watch from last night. So we've effectively hit the regions in gold. Okay, they've made the move up, and the reason why gold is moving up is because of the fear of what's going on overseas, okay, which I'm going to get to in a short moment. But you can see gold has effectively cleared that 2,470 region. Look at it, it's now 2,472 at the close. To add insult to injury, oil itself, you can see that oil, we wanted to see Monday's target of 78.42 to be taken, and it ended up nearly clearing out the weekly target of 81. We go over to oil itself, and you can see, happy days. Oil, Monday's target taken, and weekly target is so close. I gave the projection yesterday, and still got a week for it to play out. And if one of you guys that have traded oil, take some money off the table, because the same way it can aggressively move up is the same way it can come back down again. So please, any oil traders in the platinum membership, just make sure you're taking that into consideration, okay? And if you guys want to get involved in this sort of thing, go check out the Traders Reality website, because we've got a 20% discount, so you can get these sort of setups every single day, Monday through to Friday, across 6 asset classes. So that includes Euro, Gold, Oil, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. Now, let's just get with the program, okay? Oil and gold going up. Well, that makes sense because Ukraine's incursion displaces more than 133,000 Russians, okay? That's bad news. And on top of that, you've got this, I didn't know if I was going to share it or not, but look, US shares Israel's view Iranian attack is increasingly likely. They seem to be probing this war that's bound to happen. Now, I was going across Twitter, X, and I was just researching. And I saw this Iranian page, okay? And it said 2 a.m. What's 2 a.m.? 2 a.m. our time there. What is it? Is that going to be something that we've got to be waiting for? And I'm not saying this to get you all, oh my God, but it's something that might be serving us if we're going to be hearing about any news that's going to be coming forward. It's always going to end up happening when the markets are closed. And of course, when Asia's open, the markets can do whatever they want because it's such a lightly traded environment. It will all be about tomorrow. Now, say we have some issues. Region braces for strike as leaders urge de-escalation. Pentagon deploys submarine with cruise missiles to region. It's starting to happen, ladies and gentlemen, which when you think about it with the idea of what's going on in the economy, adding insult to injury, you've got 2 wars. You've got an economic downturn. And I know, the Psalm indicator, she is a female. I get it, okay? Made a mistake. Same way I made a mistake before with Lagarde. I said, that guy, forgive me. But that indicator is screaming recession. We've got an inflation reading coming out, which is supposedly, it's going to be sticky. The employment market is actually getting terrible, okay? These are all factors that could be coming into play and making Bitcoin a little bit more cheaper. JP Morgan suggesting that the likelihood of the US going into recession is now up to 35%. Previously, it was 25%. That 25% reading was done on Friday. And they've just now increased it. Goldman Sachs hasn't much to say about it. But JP Morgan is going into the limelight. And everyone's like, yeah, you know what? Forget what JP Morgan says. Forget what Morgan Stanley says. Yet why are they still managing millions and millions of dollars? Doesn't make sense. So that means when people... When they say something, people tend to listen, okay? We can do the buy, rumor, sell on news kind of story. We can then take advantage of the extreme fear that's hitting cryptocurrency, and we can start buying Bitcoin. Let's make that assumption. Let's say, how many of you right now, with all the stuff that's happening in the marketplace right now, how many of you are actively buying Bitcoin with the idea it's going to go up from here? How many are actually buying Bitcoin on spot? Because what will be interesting to see is all this information that's coming out, okay? Especially with this conversation that's being had tonight. And listen to this. Last month, the European Commission offered X an illegal secret deal if they quietly censored the speech without telling anyone. Many platforms agreed except X. And then on top of that, Doge designer decided to come out and say the European Union is trying to interfere with tonight's X space between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, demanding X implement content moderation or face consequences. This is where it gets really interesting because we won't know if there's been implemented or not. What could they do to Elon? The only thing that they could affect Elon with is just trade, in the sense where you can actually build your Tesla factories, okay? Are you allowed to sell Tesla cars? They're going to be putting sanctions on him. And quite frankly, Elon's the kind of guy that will say, you know what? Don't care. Look at what he said last time when the advertiser wanted to stop advertising on X. He gave them the good go forth and multiply kind of story. Obviously, I can't say that now because it's not fitting for the situation, but hey. Anyways, with that being said, I wanted to draw your attention to the sleeping giant. This is why it could get a little bit problematic for us. Check this out. China's central bank to examine financial institutions' bond risks. That ain't good. We had a little story regarding the Japanese and the carry trade, and look at what that did. Look what's been going on in China. If they've got a problem in their economy, one of the major holders of US bonds, they ain't been buying too many bonds lately. They need to save their economy because it's not looking too good, bro. Now, oil's going up because of what's going on. And naturally, when investors are concerned about things, they go to commodities because when there's uncertainty, especially when you've got a solidified war, they're going to need oil. There's going to be an impact on oil. So oil's price is going to go up. Investors are going to seek the safety of gold because gold's a safe haven. So then gold's going to go up. But the second we hear about the escalation and that's it, it's now happening, gold will then spike. Then once the escalation has occurred and the war has actually kicked off, then they will throw in the ceasefire because it's like a stop-start button. We attack, ceasefire. Then all of a sudden, they said, we're not going to do the ceasefire. Let's carry on. Now we've got another story. They want to get the party started yet again. Just go back to last week. And I was having a little bit of a laugh and joke about the guy who stepped down and who is now the political chief in control, who's now like, I'm not interested in this ceasefire. Now we've got this. So gold's going to spike up. Oil's going to potentially spike up if this actually does happen. And then we'll hear in the news article after the event has happened, ceasefire, everything comes down, everything's all good. Well, gold and oil will look to come down. All other assets will look to come back up. Why? Because they've effectively engaged in the hedge. Commercial hedges have effectively sold into the rally of investors saying, look, go into gold because I'm scared. And then they'll start buying gold back up again. And then that would then bring gold a little bit more further down. This is a problem for me. It's small. This is retail. Where are my vector candles? Look, it's going up slowly, slowly, slowly. That's bad news. You want to know what choppiness is? Look at the NASDAQ. It hasn't done nothing. They are waiting for, of course, inflation. Inflation's coming out on Wednesday, and they're already tipping it to be a problem. This is big news, ladies and gentlemen. We're going into one of the most important news articles, news releases that are going to be coming out for the marketplace. Because anything that you see has been trading upwards. I mean, I'm looking at these vector candles on the NASDAQ, and they're already a problem for me. I'm expecting NASDAQ to come and sweep these ranges. Can you imagine if inflation does actually go up year on year? They're expecting 3%. And even if we do hit 3%, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to matter because we've already been at 3%. We go up to 3.3%, sticky. If it goes up higher than 3.5%, problem, major problem. That would then explain why the bonds have been taking a nosedive to the downside because investors are going into cash. Look at the dollar. Where's the dollar? Dollar dominance. Well, they've done that again at the close of the market, but the dollar is trading sideways. That's the 15-minute time frame. Just look, you can see dollar is holding out. And this isn't good, man. I'm telling you. This is not good when the dollar doesn't go nowhere and you've got the stock market going up. You've got the bonds market coming down and you've got them going up as well. Gold's going up, but dollar's going sideways. Nothing is consistent. And that's how you can tell that the marketplaces themselves are in a little bit of a problem. There's no real trend per se. I mean, if you zoom out, you can then safely say that the dollar itself is pretty much trading sideways. That's all it's doing. It's going sideways. I would pay close attention, more importantly, into what dollar yen's doing, because we need to pay attention to the idea of how the Japanese are going to be moving forward. Japanese bonds market, 102 still, that's fine. We go into the yield itself, 10-year yield coming down, that's fine. So we're all good with that. We look at the yen futures, you can see that they're coming down, well, coming back up from this point, and they need to keep on marking price up. Otherwise, they're going to want to hike the interest rates yet again. And we don't want to see that, because that's just going to cause another problem for investors. So where does Bitcoin fit in all this? Well, look at what impact it's having across the board with the Japanese yen, with the Chinese, with war overseas. And then you've got cryptocurrency. Wait there. Let's just go over to the total cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency market cap is 2.038 trillion. Okay, that's where we are right now. Ooh, what's going on in this party over here? There we go. $2.039 trillion market cap. All right. $135 trillion is the market cap for the US bonds market, there or thereabouts. 6.5 trillion is the Forex market, and that's daily turnover. Okay. Tell me why Bitcoin would go up if everything else is going down. The only way that it can go up is if we get enough people buying it. That's the only truth. And when there's not enough people buying it, then it's going to go to areas where we will get people's attention. You see, you've got to look at it like this. You go look at Bitcoin right now, and you can see that we've got this little zone right here. It's just on a nice little wick to the downside, and it's coming back up, okay? It's very choppy behavior. You're looking at the Coinank itself. We have got a lot of bids. They are planting orders in here, and that is a problem. And it's not going to get unnoticed. Look. They can bring Bitcoin up and make the illusion appear that it's going to pump. I hope it pumps, because I can then change direction and then take advantage of that. But I'm looking at a bigger picture here and I'm thinking, bloody hell, why is there so many people looking for to buy Bitcoin? People want Bitcoin to go up. That means they need you to buy it. Start buying it, they'll start selling it, and then you'll start getting caught out. And the pump that happened today, Bitcoin just drops straight back down. That's not consistent with trending. It shows you that there's inconsistency in the marketplace. People aren't making sense of what's going on. But what's really going on is people are using leverage, and market maker is making them pay the price. Smacking it up, pulling it back down again. Okay? That's why you've got to just take your profit when it's there, get out when it's hurting the balance. Or if you don't know where you're going to get out, just make sure you know where you will say, I'm going to draw the line. Don't wait for your account to get blown. There's no point. If you don't know how much you're going to lose, then you're going to lose it all. Okay? This is why this makes sense over here. The chance for Bitcoin to hit 52K. Again, if you're going to be buying Bitcoin, which I can see right here, right? Bonds down, dollar down, gold up, consistent. Correct, it is consistent, but gold's going up for the wrong reason. It's going up because people are scared of war. But dollar's not down. It's still up. Okay? That's the problem. Dollar is still up. It's still 2% appreciated. Okay? Dollar should be taking a shoe bag to the downside if the fundamental says that gold up, dollar down. But right now, for the time being, yeah, it's consistent. So I hear what you're saying. But for me, when we see the bonds going sideways, okay, that's a problem dollar going sideways, that's a problem for me. It's a big problem. Where is it? Where's my thing? Here we go. Where's dollar? I don't like that. I need dollar to break the lows, go beyond 101, and then we'll know where we stand with it. Okay? What is going on over here? What we got here in the chat? It's the golden ratio. Everyone ask him about Donald Trump meeting with Elon Musk. Any view from you, brother? Reply. Look, man, whatever it is they're going to say, okay? Whatever they can say. It's what they think is going to be spoken. Tesla, crypto, make America great again, and that's it. Okay? The only two things I can take from that is Tesla. So if you're going to go over to price action on Tesla, you're going to go over and have a look and say, what could Tesla benefit from it? Okay? What could Trump say that will benefit Tesla? He might say to Elon, you should do something different about the way you address one market or this market. But I don't think people are there to hear about that. Reddit will have something to say about it, all right? But there's going to be some structure in this meeting. Elon has said that it's just no holds barred. You're going to talk about whatever they want to talk about. But can you imagine these two people are talking about a certain thing? They could literally start civil war. That's the truth. They could say one thing that will really cheese people off. So you've got to be very careful on this conversation. It sounds great that Elon and Trump are going to be talking. What they talk about, there's going to be some care of, they're going to have a care of duty in what they talk about. But they're mentioning Tesla, that's fine. So if you're involved in Tesla, then I'd be looking at certain positions depending on what they say about it. All right? What's going on here? When the hell is alt season here? Well, look, go over to Bitcoin dominance first to understand that, right? Bitcoin dominance looks like it's working its way lower. Okay, not bad, all right? I mean, you've got to look. I'll tell you what. Every altcoin is doing exactly what Bitcoin is doing. Look at Ethereum. I think Ethereum is holding out very, very well in comparison to Bitcoin, okay? Which is why people are asking the idea of altcoin season, okay? We've got vector candles all the ways to the highs. We've got a journey that we can trade into, okay? When you've got these tensions, I mean, look at this. 50,249,000 USDC has been minted, okay? There's something brewing with that, especially with the stablecoin story. I'd want to know what Circle's situation is. Are they going to get that IPO? That'll be interesting. But like I said, Ukraine, Iran, it's becoming a problem. And investors need to put money to work. And they're not going to be seeking high risk when the risk of things toppling over is getting higher and higher. So that's where our head's at right now, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You can take advantage of certain moves on Bitcoin. You can take a couple of $100 profit or a couple of $100 move in Bitcoin, fine. If that's your narrative of trading, then okay. Okay? But when you look at the bigger picture of what's going on here, especially with the way Bitcoin's behaving and why they're calling for the idea of a Bitcoin 52K, well, we've logically made the assumption that Bitcoin is prone to the 52K. Why? Because we've got vector candles down below that they have yet to take back. And if Bitcoin is going to be primed to making a move to the upside, we need to come back into these vector candles, ladies and gentlemen, because they need to test the area where they were able to buy a lot more. That makes sense with price over here. Look, the Coinank. Look at where the bids are coming in. They're repeating the same behavior here. And then they reverse back up and pay themselves. And then they'll do exactly the same here. And then that move to the downside should be enough for them to confirm that things are going to go higher. Because we need to challenge the idea that fear is absolutely dog. And then we want to turn to cryptocurrency. But Wall Street has got fear tied into crypto. And Wall Street only knows fear. So they're going to quickly take it out of crypto. Crypto takes a shoe bag to the downside. And Wall Street's back with its fear, chucks it into cash or chucks it into fixed income securities, which is bonds. And then they'll think about what they're going to do next. Federal Reserve comes along and says, we're not going to cut the interest rates too much. We're going to give you a little few points, 25 basis points. Market's going to think, forget that. What's the point in that? I ain't going to do nothing for me. And then that's when you're going to get effectively another attempt at the volatility index, which could in principle start shooting back up again. We've got vector candles up here on the volatility index, and they do come back into the vectors on the volatility index. Why? Because the volatility index is made up of the puts and the calls of the S&P historically. I know there's been a change around with it, but that's the premise of this. When it's high, you buy. When it's low, you short, because everything that has effectively moved up is now looking to start to come down. We've just had a little crash, it reversed back up. So the idea is things are looking to come down. Guys, we've not had a proper correction. We really haven't. Just look at the bigger picture of things. Look at Bitcoin. Have we had a proper correction here? Bear markets, in principle, by the logic of William J. O'Neill. God rest his soul. He's the creator of Investors Business Daily. He says that bear markets work in 3 waves in principle. You see the first drop, they retrace. And then they drop it again, they retrace, they drop it again, and then they retrace. 3 drops. By that principle, Bitcoin's all-time high. We would be on the fundamental principle of a bear market, the first drop. The retrace has happened. The second drop will bring it down. Then the third drop will bring it down. And then Bitcoin at sub-discount zones 35K hypothetically would be a full recovery of this whole move to the upside. And then it all starts all over again. And wherever we are, they're already talking about Bitcoin ETF options in 2025. Now that's where you're going to get effectively ETFs on steroids, which is leverage trading in principle. So that's going to be a great thing for investors because there's limitations on who can buy the ETF. They're keeping it for certain individuals, high net worth individuals or professional investors. Well, when you've got Bitcoin ETF options, that's just going to open the window to everyday investors. Again, synthetic. That's why they're keeping the ETF limited to certain players, because they have to buy the physical Bitcoin to put it into the ETF via the transfer agents and the APs, authorized participants such as JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, BlackRock. But that's what William J. O'Neill says. He says that's the principle, a bear market. And when you just look at the bigger picture of things, Bitcoin hasn't gone nowhere, man. Let's just face it. Look at it. It's gone nowhere. Are you guys making sense? It's actually come back into the vector candles and we still got another vector candle region at 44K. I'm wanting to see Bitcoin hit 80K in September and September the 18th, which is just in line with the Fed cut. So whatever happens with inflation on Wednesday is going to decide where we are with the rate cuts. And if inflation does tick up higher, then we're probably going to get either a small cut or they're going to hold yet again. That's the worst thing about it, man. And the problem is, if China is getting rid of bonds, why would they cut the interest rates? Doesn't make sense, does it? If you've got your two main players, Japan and China, getting rid of their positions in US bonds, the only reason they're doing that is so that they can either save their economy, but at the same time, they need to put their money to work because they can't really allow the yen to keep going up, the Japanese yen, that is, because it's going to hurt them in trade. So when you've got the US holding their interest rates, that means what? They're going to be earning more in dollars. Guess what? Get rid of yen, go back into dollars because they're keeping the interest rates high. That's why a jumbo interest rate cut will naturally lead investors to dollars, but it's only going to be serving the economy. But from a hedger's perspective, from institutional investors' perspective, where are they going to be putting their money? Is it going to be more cost effective to go into yen or to the dollar? If you cut the interest rates, great, you're going to start borrowing dollar, but you've got inflation, so it kind of counters that. So it doesn't make sense, does it? That's why we are in a very big scenario right here. It's a big time in the market, ladies and gentlemen. It is a very big time in the marketplace. Anyways, any questions, ladies and gents? Do you think we're in a bear market now? Do I think we're in the bear market? The only way we can validate Bitcoin being in a bear market right now, well, technically, look, from technical analysis point of view, to all the guys that are trading the triple bottoms and the triple tops, and of course the lower highs and the higher lows, there's your high, there's another high, it was lower, and another high, that was lower, and that one was lower, that one was lower, this one looks like it was lower, but they keep making lower lows. Lower lows, lower lows. That looks like a quest for liquidity. Some guys will even do this. They'll be drawing out there. Where is it? Trend lines. So they'll start from the top and they'll be saying, okay, that trend line nearly got broken, but invalidated. Test the trend line, invalidated. So now we're going to be expecting Bitcoin to do a pump back into that trend line because it has to test that trend line because the trend line says that the markets are looking for the trend lines, okay? And then it will make the move to the downside. Nah, man, the markets are just focusing on liquidity. That's all they're interested in, okay? Look at this. This is what the markets are interested in. People buying, people selling. Cumulative delta to the left right here, 25 million. So we've seen $25 million worth of liquidity coming into Bitcoin by the principle of a delta. I'm paying attention to 88,000's come in. Still, some more sales are coming into play, okay? That's what they're looking for. They're not interested in trend lines. It just happens to be that at that point right there, no one was actively selling the Bitcoin. There will always be a supply of people, whether it's buyers or sellers. All right? There's no such thing as no supply or no demand. It's just people are stopping certain orders. And those people are your clearinghouses, the guys in control, the guys who make it possible for you to buy and the guys who make it possible for you to sell. All right? Because you'll always have people buying because Bitcoin's moving up. And when they stop, it's because people are going to stop buying. That doesn't make sense. Tell me what Moon Boy is going to say to you. Nah, man, Bitcoin's pumping. I'm buying. No, I'm not buying. Nah, he's not going to say that to you, is he? Ain't no Moon Boy out there that's going to stop buying when he sees Bitcoin's price rising because he's going to be in the fear of missing out. And there ain't going to be no one that's going to stop selling when they see prices of Bitcoin going down. They're going to be continuously selling. But if you haven't got anyone that's buying from you, your order's pretty much stuck. And then it reverses back up. And then you think, shit, I'm going to stop. I'm going to start buying again. And then it goes back up. So supply and demand in principle, in my opinion, is a little bit flawed on the way it's presented. There is supply and there is demand, but there is no cutoff in the sense where there's not enough buyers or not enough sellers. There is always a supply of people buying and selling. And all you got to do is just thank the clearinghouses and the algorithms and the market makers for their mad liquidity that they provide. Welcome to leverage. Does that make sense? That's the question. What do you think will be the all-time high in this cycle? 85K. That's my thing. I'm going on 85K Bitcoin because, let me just do something. 85K Bitcoin because we've got the September cuts. That's what we're waiting for. And if we don't get the cuts, that's just going to completely switch it. So my projection is, in principle, where are we at with the date? We're on the 12th of August right now, okay? So I've still got a few more weeks until Bitcoin can hit the 85K. Me personally, I would prefer Bitcoin to do the following thing. I'd want to see Bitcoin take a shoe bag to the downside, sweep this liquidity down here, and at least gun for this 50K zone. Because they gun for the 50 and move away from it, that's it. Bitcoin's done with the 50 zone. It's done. And you can see there's a high concentration of orders inside of this range. But look, there's not that many liquidations getting taken right now. Look at this area down here. Not that many guys are getting liquidated, but you can see there's more longs getting liquidated, which is naturally going to want to send price down. I'm not seeing shorts getting liquidated. They keep on adding to the pan. Look, shorts are coming into play. The longs are starting to get liquidated. All right. So they've hit the longs right there, liquidated them then. Made enough of them come back into the chart to then bring it back down again. So they're starting to increase the long liquidations. Long liquidations get taken, happy days. Buy up all these Bitcoin. And then it reverses in time for the rate cut. And if they don't welcome the rate cut or whatever they do where they welcome the rate cut, that drop down to 50 will be the bounce to see Bitcoin go and hit another all-time high. And then Bitcoin comes back down again. Remember, by the principle of a bearish cycle itself, okay, they can mark it up all the way up here, hit that 80, and then bring it just as fast back down again. I think Bitcoin is just a liquidity pump and dump scheme. It is. You can sell me the idea of Bitcoin in the future and how you can move money and what have you. But because too many people are speculating on Bitcoin, it opens an opportunity for people to trade it and only be short term with it. The guys who got into Bitcoin in the first instance are the ones that are laughing their heads off. They don't care about Bitcoin's price. They'll probably start paying attention to when it gets to around 15, 20K. But even then, if they were buying it at like 3 cents, you still don't really give a damn. You could die holding Bitcoin and then get reincarnated 50 years later and you still wouldn't have a problem with it. It's there you go. That's my logic on that. Crypto is pump and dump. Okay. My stop loss in principle on NASDAQ is 20K. I'm prepared to take the loss at 20K because I've got to give NASDAQ room to move. But I'm playing NASDAQ short because of the news. That's all I'm doing. But I'm using only 2 contracts on the NASDAQ. So I'm not really seeing that much of a deviation on the account. At most, if it goes to 20K, I'll lose 3.5 grand. That's the risk I'm prepared to take. 3.5, 4 grand tops. Right now, I'm in about $1,500 drawdown. Can deal with that. But I'm playing the news. That's what I'm doing. I'm playing the logic that it's not looking good for the US. We've got tensions overseas. And I'm playing a fundamental play. That's what I'm doing. Because I haven't got actively the time to sit and trade the way I want to trade. I'm not at my charts. I don't have my depth of market. This is my depth of market right now. That's what I'm working with on Bitcoin. I'm looking for quick scalps on BTC. Okay. But when I get back to the UK, it's going to be a different story. Wherever I'm at with this NASDAQ trading principle, wherever I'm at with it. Look, volume's dropping as it's moving up. Yeah, we got vector candles over here. But there's too much value locked into the markets. They need to claw some of that back. And we could get some, you'll probably start seeing it on X. Head and shoulders formation. That's what you'll start seeing on X, guys. Whatever it is. Up, down, hit, drop. Which in principle is like a big M formation. Come down and test that 14,500, 15K NASDAQ. That was only in what? November? Not long ago. Oh, okay, nearly a year ago. No problem there. Okay, cool. What we got here? Let's have a look at what you guys are saying. First three descending. Hold on a second. Let me have a look at these comments here. Hold on. Tino, in Coinank, would you use the same methodology of bids and asks on Forex the same way you do for Bitcoin? Not necessarily. Unless you're using the CME futures for Forex, okay? If you're using CME futures when you're trading Forex, then you can use the principle of bids and asks on there, all right? But in Forex, you're trading spot markets, all right? So you don't know who's buying, you don't know who's selling. You're relying on the exchange's volume, okay? Whatever they're telling you it to be, all right? But when you use the CME and trade futures, you are eliminating the idea of is the volume true or not? Because you can see the volume going in through the exchange on the CME. It's all regulated on the CME markets. We know who's buying and we know who's selling. How much of what is the pool of it? So if I see a big order on Euro suggesting that they're going to go lower, that one big order of 300 contracts tells me that someone sold 300 contracts, okay? I don't know where that 300 contracts has come from. It could come from an order that's part of a bigger order for 20,000 contracts that needs to be offloaded into the market. I don't know who that 20,000 is and we'll never know who that is. If I still see 300, 300, 300, I'll assume that there's a big player. You ain't going to get that in the spot market with Forex, okay? That's why when we use this stuff over here with Bitcoin, where is it? We use this stuff here. We can see this is from the volume on the exchange of Binance. You can see there's someone loading up 57,420 Bitcoin for 10 million. That's information for me. Now that order could be taken. It could be removed from the exchange. But you can see that we've got quite a few people looking to have some interest in buying Bitcoin. All right. At the same token, we've got some guys that want to sell the Bitcoin as well. That's why Bitcoin or anyone trying to make sense of what Bitcoin is doing right now is getting people a little bit thrown off because they're like, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? What's your target on ETH, Tino? What's your target on Solana, Tino? Where do you make sense of price going sideways? Because you are effectively trading this game of speculation. Bitcoin's got a range here. Psychological low has been tapped. We go down here. Asian session low hasn't been taken yet. Okay? We're just trading sideways. So you can say, oh, Bitcoin's pumping. It's only moving up from the last candle that it moved away from. So it's not really pumping now, is it? There's no logic to the pump. This green vector candle was a pump. It was a manipulative range earlier on today. But they seem to be holding out inside of this candlestick. But there's liquidity down below for them to have. And if they're going to be trapping traders here, notice how they marked it up today and then they reversed it back down again. That's a big tell that they're done with these highs and they could be getting ready to roll over. If you remember last week, we were speaking about Bitcoin potentially forming a big structure right like so, okay? They need to finalize this. And if they don't, then we need to see Bitcoin break away from this zone with conviction. But the 3 times that they've tried to hit the highs, once there, and then today, that's not consistent with a moving market to the upside. That looks like a VWAP play. What do I mean by that? Institutional investors, when they start doing VWAPs and they start buying and selling, they serve their clients by making sure they get the best average price, okay? So if they're buying Bitcoin and they're trading on the VWAP principle, that means when Bitcoin's moving up, retrace back into the VWAP, that means it's going to go higher because you'll see activity on the volume weighted average price to send price higher again. and then it comes back into it, then you buy, and then it goes up again. Happy days. So that when someone then comes into their broker and they say, so where's my portfolio at? What have you been doing for me lately? Well, where are the transactions? He'll come to it and he'll say, you've been buying Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's at 40. For example, let's assume this area here. Bitcoin was at $34,000. And then you see that Bitcoin's gone all the way up to $48,000. As an investor, I've given my money to JP Morgan, for example. I'm going to look at the transactions and say, so what's our average entry price? I'm going to be very excited if I see my average entry price is where the volume is, right here, which is where the VWAP sits. So then when price is all the way up here, I'm in a stack of profit. It's going to be a little bit of a pain in the backside if I'm making my entries up here and up here and up here, okay? I'm going to be a little bit cheesed off with my broker because he's not exactly getting me the best possible fill in the price, okay? So now let's just flip that logic. And let's assume that we're doing the same thing with price going to the downside, okay? What do you see here? Pretty simple. Again, the logic says that they buy below the VWAP and they also sell below the VWAP as well. Price drops, they're buying. They sell into the VWAP. Bang, drops down again. Sell into the VWAP, drops down again. Sell into it, drop down again. So me as an investor, I go to JP Morgan and say, yo, man, I've got $80 million worth of capital trapped in Apple. I saw Warren Buffett sell it, so I want to start getting rid of my capital. What's the best price that I've been getting? Well, my broker, because he's a top boy, he's going to say to me, well, listen, I managed to sell it at $45,000. I then managed to sell it again at $40,869. And I then managed to sell it again for $38,000. What's the price now? Well, the price now is $34,000. Okay, you did serve me pretty well, didn't you? Yeah, baby. That's why I'm your broker, Tino. Happy days. It'll be a different story if he was selling from here. I'll be saying, dude, man, what have you done? You got a terrible price for me. That is a horrible price. I want to sell it from the highest possible point so I'm getting the best value for my investment. Because I can't just dump everything. And that's this logic here is effectively what Bitcoin could be getting ready for. Okay? They could be selling it. They mark it up, they sell it. Mark it up, drop it. Mark it up, drop it. Until they drop it to a point where they can grab enough interest because the interest is there. That's not FUD. If you think it's FUD, trading's not for you. The game of speculation is not for you. All this article means movement, movement. It's moving. We can see movement coming into the chart. Don't have an opinion on it. Find the movement. If you can capitalize on the fact that US, Israel shares Iranian view on attack, whatever, you capitalize on the idea of Ukraine incursion. Go and invest in companies who are actively involved. Look, Lockheed, where is it? What's the stock of Lockheed doing lately? Wait a second. Aerospace and defense what is it? Lockheed. Here we go. Lockheed Martin Corporation. And look at that, man. I ain't doing too badly now, is it? Not bad. NASDAQ is barely struggling. Bitcoin's struggling. All assets across the board are struggling. Even the bonds are taking a shoe bag to the downside, right? Yet Lockheed Martin Corporation's doing perfectly well. Thank you very much. Aerospace and defense. Do you think it interests me what the company is? I know it's part of the aerospace defense. Oh, we've got a war. On the 2nd of August, the US defense contracts. Who was popping up on there? Lockheed and Martin. They got a contract, 28 million for transportation and some fancy electrical stuff. Now, all of a sudden, we've got Pentagon deploys submarine with cruise missiles to the region. Go and research what Lockheed Martin does. They provide facilities for that. Maritime, space, sky, you name it. You could be involved in it, even if the slightest hint of a war, ladies and gentlemen. If we just go back to the 12th of July, the war was going on. You could have been buying up on those stocks. Now look at this. Shot up. Not bad, eh? Aerospace, defense, and medical will always succeed during uncertain times. Lockheed is an example of that. It's like the new NVIDIA. Where's NVIDIA? Where's NVIDIA at? Yeah, man, that's struggling. And we've got a couple of more gaps that could be a problem for us. But that's another story. Okay. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, anyone new to the channel, take part in this challenge, this trading challenge with BTCC. 72 people have come into the game itself. In order to take part in that, you've got to join up BTCC in the description of the live stream. It's free no VPN required or KYC required for anyone in the United States. And that's only if you're transferring cryptocurrency. It's bloody late over here, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Please forgive me if I've been mumbling, but I hope I've answered your questions to the best of my ability. Won't go down at any moment. What won't go down at any moment? When you think and how long time they need to sweep the liquidity down. The time is the $1 million question. We will never know the time or when. It's all down to, are you going to be awake when it happens? Are you going to be at the chart? This is why we got alerts. We press alerts. We press alert here. We press an alert here. We press an alert up here. That's what TradingView does. It says ding, ding, ding. There you go. Price is at this point. You might put a logic to that because if Bitcoin can break this structure up here, then there's a good chance Bitcoin's going to go up towards the 68K because it's got enough of a motivation to work its way up towards that point. Okay? If the shit's hitting the fan, forgive me. If we've got problems, then Bitcoin's only going to do what Wall Street does. It's just drop. But the good thing with crypto is there will always be guys stepping in and buying it. And that's why this logic here, there's a high concentration of guys buying in this range. That's good news, guys. They just want it a little bit cheaper. They don't want to pay at a premium. They want a bit of a discount. All right? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's live. Be sure to like and subscribe. I have chewed your ear off. Well, 46 minutes. Sorry, man. But other than that, I'll be checking in with you all tomorrow. Just keep an eye out on Asia tonight, guys. Mad love and respect. Peace.